The May 11th, 2023 meeting of the Plaquemines Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District will come to order. The machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that all commissioners are present except for Commissioner Edwards, and he should be arriving any minute. Commissioner Champagne will lead us in prayer, followed by Commissioner Schultz with the pledge. All rise.
We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for the bountiful blessings, especially for the parish natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for the world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve as our parish, with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Just a few comments. If you would, please, if you have a cell phone, turn it so the ringer will not go off. And also a reminder that public comment will take place before any of the resolutions or ordinances are brought to the table. And we'd appreciate that you keep your comments. And if there are any questions related to those comments, that the proposer of the relative resolution or ordinance will address that during that person's comments. We can move on to the next item of the agenda.
Item 2, executive session. There are none. Item 3, status report by the Executive Port Director.
Yes, good afternoon, Council.
You on?
You got it? Okay. Good afternoon, Council. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I just wanted to give an update on some key items. We continue to make progress with the purchase of the piano keys. We will be introducing 2 more properties that have been the document we've closed, and we'll be introducing that in 2 weeks. After that, we'll have approximately 9 left to go. So we are making continuous progress, and we are trying to target to complete negotiation with the piano keys by the end of August of this year. We had our first meeting one-on-one with Jefferson Parish, which we're starting to schedule monthly meetings to coordinate between Plaquemines Parish, the Port, and Jefferson Parish on the rail bypass project for Peters Road and Walker Road. We also had our first port construction related meeting with key stakeholders this week. We met with the Corps of Engineers, we met with Philway, we met with Venture Global and with On-Site Concrete, and this was the first of our coordination meetings to get in front of the current construction projects that are taking place, to ensure that we're number one, keeping public safety as a number one priority, but number 2, just making sure that we're working smartly together. That meeting was a huge success, and we will have it scheduled once a month, and it'll be a Microsoft Teams meeting, and it'll last about 30 minutes. We continue to evaluate the future plans for the ferry. We've had a couple of months now to really dig in and really take a look at what the future needs to look like. We've met with the entire community. and we've received very valuable feedback. We've also had Infinity Engineering to go out and give us a engineered assessment on what needs to happen with Point Lahash, the ferry ramps, and that's both the East Bank and the West Bank. So we're looking forward to having a further conversation with Infinity, to discuss what the next steps might look like. And I think with the ferries, one of the things that I would like to say is the port is definitely listening closely, to the community. And we think that, we have two levers that we're working with that are both equally important. One is fiscal responsibility. The other one is social responsibility. So we are continuing to evaluate what the future will look like. And we hope to have some type of recommendation to the council within the next 2 weeks to 30 days. Another thing I'd like to touch on is you guys will be presented today with a request for us to share in costs on the helicopter avionics. The port has a CEA with the Sheriff's Department. We believe that the helicopter unit that we have here with the port is a vital asset that helps us to cover our 80-plus mile region. My most recent use was I actually flew on the helicopter to the Port of Morgan City to take a look at Venture Global's construction site on that side. And I will tell you that having that asset available saved me a half a day and allowed me to participate in 2 other critical meetings. The cost sharing is to purchase some new avionics to help with flying at night or in low visibility situations. I think it's a critical piece of equipment, and I definitely fully support, us, continuing to participate with the Sheriff's Department. Master plan, you guys will see that on the agenda today. We are asking to move forward to start our market analysis. Our market analysis is really the first part in starting our master plan. We're going to break it up, as you see in your documents, in 3 sections, where we want to start with a market analysis, 90 to 120 days. Then we'd like to move to an economic impact analysis, finish both of those in 23, and budget to complete the full master plan in 24. And that covers my comments.
One other item, and then we'll open the floor. I'm requesting a mid-year budget
Yes.
review, and we've come up with what I think is a pretty good date. It was July
6th. July 6th.
July 6th. July 6th. We're going to move, it's a Thursday. It's not a council meeting day. And we'll have it in this room at 4 o'clock. So tentatively, if you scratch that in, Charles, and then everyone at the table, if you send a memo to everyone to remind them, but let's
Got
get
it.
some feedback and see if that day works. And if it works, we'll do it. And if it doesn't, we'll shift.
July 6th.
July 6th. It's a Thursday. It's not a council meeting Thursday.
10 o'clock, you said?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Yeah, that way everyone will be able to
Got it.
attend. And any commissioner who has a comment on that, just get with Director Tillotson and we'll modify. But for right now, let's just set that day down. In regards to your report, I'll ask if there are any comments from the audience to come and comment and refrain from questions, if you will. Name and address, please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members, I'm Donald Valle. In relation to what you just said with the budget hearings, can we make sure that the public has that in ample time that they can review it before July 6th?
Yes, sir. Everything will be on the website, am I correct?
Yes,
Information
That's
will be on the
correct.
website, probably well before then.
absolutely.
Yeah, and
Is-
if any updates, of course.
As you all know, I've been asking for this since before January this year. Okay, and I appreciate you doing this, Mr. Chairman. And Chris, you and I have talked about this, a couple of y'all. I want to make sure, though, that what we're going to get and that we're going to review is the budget that was allocated and the actuals and any variance that's there. And if there's anything, I would suggest, and Chris, you and I have talked about it, anything more than a 3% variance, we should have an explanation of it and be prepared to answer that. Just typical. Thank you for that. I think any of y'all that went to town hall meeting last week, these three gentlemen that were there, and the port director, staff, Herb, and the public, they want 2 ferries, and they want that ramp prepared. And they clearly reported that there was no decision made by them, the staff, or by the council at this point in time. However, I think pretty much everybody knew it. I asked a couple of questions with not a definitive answer, but where are we with Infinity? Have they issued a report? If not, when are they going to issue the report? And have they come up with any estimates to make the repairs? I'll stop there for a minute. Charles, you weren't there.
Yeah, and I'll just repeat what Charles said.
Okay.
That Infinity should have a report with 2 weeks to 30 days.
I thought I heard they had some report already, but
I didn't hear that.
Charles, have you received any kind of report yet?
We have a preliminary report, but the report just basically states what we already knew. So we are waiting on a follow-up report.
I can appreciate that. I mean, I've been busy. Question, though, is it repairable? Did they give any indication to that?
We don't have any indication. No.
Okay.
Any other comments, Don?
I'm sorry?
Comments, anything else?
One of the things that you talked about, that you bring it up, that you already clarified, is there's a lot of issues. The helipad that's going to come up later, or the helicopter itself. Years ago, we all looked at that, went to when we did all the cost budgets, and it was determined at that time that the port wanted to get away from the helicopter and wanted to go to more sophisticated drones. It would be more applicable to what was being done and a lot more expensive. It's not a big number that you'll have for this. At that time, that budget was $90,000 to be split with the sheriff's office, half and half, which is not out of line. However, the usage of it that was looked at the time didn't justify even half of that money. So when you look at this thing, do an analysis on this, make a determination. Is your avionics that Jerry wants to put on this thing, is that coming out of your budget, or is this an additional item?
When that item comes up, we'll explain.
Okay, I just want to, thank you. That's all.
Commissioner Konovich.
Yes. Is there any way I could get the email from DOTD that condemned the ferry ramp?
Affirmative. We'll send it to you tonight.
All right. And where are we at with moving port ship?
As of right now, we are complete with the RFP process, but we are putting it on hold, and we are discussing moving port ship further to the south.
Then we'll have to re-engineer it.
We will have to file a new permit. The engineering is already done.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Next item.
4, bids and advertisements, there are none. 5, introduction of ordinances and resolutions.
We have several. An ordinance to amend and as amended, readopt the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District's 2022 manpower table and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the executive director of the port, Charles Tillotson, to enter into and execute a contract with the Chesapeake Grew lobbyist for a period of 1 year to represent the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District in any upcoming sessions of the Louisiana State Legislature or
That should have been pulled.
Wait. She's introducing it to act on in 2 weeks. We're going to discuss it today.
Okay,
We're not going to drop it. We're going to talk.
okay,
today.
all right. It's Cornerstone,
Not Chesapeake.
right.
The resolution names both firms. if I'm not
This
mistaken.
is an ordinance.
It's an ordinance. It names both firms.
No. Just has Chesapeake.
That's the one that was pulled.
Pull it.
A resolution authorizing Charles Tillotson, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to enter into a per task order number 1 agreement for container terminal permitting and name change with the United States Army Corps of Engineers from LA 23 to Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District with Lanier and Associates on a as needed per task order basis, as directed by Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District Director, Executive Director, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing Charles Tillotson, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to enter into a per task order agreement for ferry improvements with Infinity Engineering on an as-needed per task orders basis, as directed by the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District Executive Director, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to increase the contract amount with the Bridges Group International. An ordinance to amend and as amended, I think this is the same, oh no. An ordinance to amend and as amended the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District 2023 budget and revenue expenditures and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District's 2023 revenue and operating expenditure budget to complete the sustainability partners and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I think so.
If not, we can come back. Next item.
6, ordinances and resolutions on second reading and final passage. 6A, ordinances and public hearings pursuant to Article 6, Section 601E of the Plaquemines Parish Charter. 6B, a resolution authorizing Charles Tilton, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to execute an agreement with sustainability partners and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Commissioner Gui.
Offer ask for a second. Second by Commissioner Champagne. And I know we've just,
Are we deferring that? Deferring, SP, we're deferring that.
spent sustainability, we're deferring.
Yes, we're deferring that. That's correct.
Next item.
An ordinance to amend the Port Harbor and Terminal Fund 2022 operating expenditure budget, Port Harbor and Terminal District Department, line item professional services, engineering, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Commissioner Gui.
I'll offer ask for a second.
Oh, we have changes.
Yeah, I would like, I'm going to take that back. Put the changes in and we'll explain those.
The old preamble has been removed, and a new preamble is reads as follows. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan, 2023 master plan project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The second whereas has been completely removed, and it now reads, the Bridges Group will recommend to the executive staff a professional services firm within
Can you go back to what number you're on?
6C.
No, number on order.
It's the item 6C.
Okay, you were making some corrections, though, I was trying to follow.
Right, the preamble has been removed, and an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, 2023 master plan project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto has been entered. Then the second whereas has been removed, and the language as follows has been added. The Bridges Group will recommend to the executive staff a professional services firm within 30 days prior to the completion of Phase 1. In the next whereas, the word committee has been removed and it's now changed to executive staff. And the same change is made in the fourth whereas. Committee is removed and it's replaced by executive staff. In Section 1, the entirety of the original Section 1 has been removed and the following language has been added. The 5-year capital improvements plan is amended by appropriating $100,000 to the 2023 master plan project from unrestricted fund balance funding year 2023 for the specific purpose of payment of contract with Bridges Group. And those are the changes.
I'll offer with those changes. Ask for a second. Seconded by Ms. McCarty. For everyone in the audience, the text of this has not changed. The intent has not changed. But when we were reviewing this at the Tuesday meeting, we realized that the text had to be cleared up. In essence, what it says, as was originally, the original intent, was a 3-phase master plan. This ordinance will fund Phase 1. It'll fund Phase 1, and it's a contract, or it's directed toward the Bridges Group, but the Bridges Group is tasked within 30 days of completion of Phase 1 to make a recommendation for Phase 2. The budget is $100,000 for Phase 1. It comes from the unrestricted fund balance. Other than that, all of the intent is the same. So I'll open the floor for comments, if there's any comments from the public.
Mr. Chairman, this is absolutely necessary to be done, and I agree with what he's doing. My question to you, if it's $100,000 Phase 1, what's the other 2 phases anticipated to be? And you did say it's coming out of unrestricted funds. What's the balance in that account?
Give it to you. I'll take that as a comment. Because you don't comment, you ask questions, but I'm taking it as a comment. And then just in clarifying, I was remiss not to mention that although it's not budgeted, the anticipated budget for Phase 2 is $100,000, the anticipated budget for Phase 3 is $300,000. And Christie, it's a good question about the unreserved, undesignated. If this passes, I know I have it here, but it's hidden under all my papers.
7.2 million.
7.2 million.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Commissioner Edwards.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand the part where it's no longer the Bridge Group and this part was changed from committee to executive staff. Why was that decision made?
The word committee was a definition of something we didn't have.
Okay.
The committee is actually the executive staff. When they review everything, the information be given to them before it
Okay,
comes to
I'm
us.
good.
That's what that was, yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schultz.
All right, so when we hired the Bridges Group, it was because they had the P3 knowledge, and now we're using them for the master plan. What is their experience with developing port master plans? I kind of was caught off guard with the Bridges Group thing, but I'm not opposed to it. I just want to know what their experience is, because when we hired them, it was because we had the P3 going on, and they had experience in that area.
Yeah, that's a good comment. And so the Bridges Group is owned by a gentleman who is the previous executive director for the Port of Virginia and of the Port of Oakland, and they have extensive master planning experience. I think they're working on a master plan right now up in the Great Lakes for one of the smaller ports. And what we're looking for in this new market analysis, right, and that's what we're focused on with the Bridges Group right now, is the market analysis, is a fresh look at what the true market that we're looking at today is. That we don't want to go back and look at some of the previous studies. We want to keep them where they are but we would like to validate them with a fresh set of eyes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Machine is open. And the ordinance is approved unanimously, 9-0. Next.
6D, an ordinance to amend and as amended readopt the Plaquemines Parish, Port Harbor, and Terminal District 2023 operating budget of revenue and expenditures, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Commissioner Gui.
I'll offer, ask for a second. Seconded by Commissioner Champagne. Mark, if you could, I've asked Mark Sauer to come today. He does pilot the helicopter. And even though Director Tillotson made some comments about the upgrade, as a pilot, I would like to hear your comments as to the need for this avionics upgrade.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, council members.
Name, give your name.
My name is Captain Mark Sauer, the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Office. I'm the helicopter for the Sheriff's Office with the, also with the port that we fly, as well as parish members and council and previous parish president. Currently, we have what's called a Chelton system. The helicopter was purchased in 2008. Unfortunately, the avionics is now outdated and no longer supportable. The company is no longer in business. So we've tried to have the system repaired several times over the last 3 years, and we're running in the situation there's no parts to be acquired. So for us to fly right now, we don't have a GPS, global positioning system, to give us direction on where we need to fly. Knowing how with the chairman yesterday, we flew out to Morgan City. I fly with an iPad with an application on it. However, it's used for aviation, but not authorized for certain types of flight. Also, you're required to have an attitude gyro to fly at night, and we do not have an operable attitude gyro. So again, it's for the safety. The helicopter has several missions, whether it's for the sheriff's office. We're not allowed to fly in instrument flight rules, which I have the qualification, but the aircraft's not equipped to do that. However, several times we find ourselves flying at night doing different missions. Also during hurricane season when we have reduced visibility, and we need that equipment to not necessarily upgrade, but to make it functional.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you had me in that other seat, I'd sure like you to have all the pieces and parts you need to get me where I need to be safe.
Don't need that.
Yes, sir.
Well, he probably doesn't, but I would be more comfortable if he had it. There was some comments made earlier. I'll wait till the end of this, and we'll talk about that. Right now, the floor is open to Commissioner. Any public comment before I do this?
None of us need to question the safety factors of this thing. If he says he needs it, he needs it, and we're going to have to put it in there. Simplicity. I asked the question, really, budget items. Is it coming out of this year's budget, or is it a line item, and what's the total expenses?
Yeah, the total expense, our share of the total expense is $40,705, and that will come out of unreserved designated.
Captain, I think you really need to take all the commissioners out and give them an auto rotation ride.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Have any of y'all ever been in auto rotation in a helicopter?
Don, sit down.
Thank you. I used to be in a helicopter outfit. It was thrilling.
Arthur Henry, Bell Chase. Listen, give it to him. I think he's moving the port in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Before I open, I'll open it up. Commissioner Konvich, you're on.
Well, last year at the budget hearings, the director and all was ready to go to drones. I wasn't for putting the helicopter back in the budget because after Hurricane Ida, we asked to use it. Was told no, can't use it. Sheriff's got it, doing videos. So why should we be paying for a helicopter we can't use when we want it?
Thank you for that comment. I think one of the things that we should point out is, Plaquemines Port District is the longest port district in the United States. It's over 80 miles. So for us to adequately cover our entire region, we need that asset. I think in addition, we do need to be looking at drone technology in the future, as we're looking at other, high definition, camera technology. But I mean, look, we have a lot of ground to cover, and I've used the helicopter asset multiple times. And what I will tell you is any time that I've needed it, if weather permitted, it was available. And the same with my staff.
So funny we couldn't use it for after Hurricane Ida, because I went to Sandy and I sat in his office while he called the sheriff to ask for the helicopter, was told no, he was doing videos of the parish.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really respond to that, but what I can tell you is Captain Sauer has been fantastic. Anytime the port needs him, he's extremely responsive. We had a flight where I needed to get to port. I needed to be in multiple places at one time, and I called him on Monday, and we were able to coordinate a flight for Wednesday, which actually, really saved the day for me. So I support having a helicopter. I think we need it, for public safety. We need it for support over our rescue boats. I'm not sure what happened in the past, but it's working very well now.
Well, I'm going to vote for it for safety reasons, but like I said, the two things you said, safe, the public, all that, we wanted to go down and see our district in Buras and Venice, couldn't use the helicopter. And we pay half. It should be on call, the same for me as it is for the sheriff.
Understand. Thank you.
Commissioner Schultz.
At first, I thought this was based on what I was reading, basically for IFR flight. I wasn't 100% on board because from my standpoint as a pilot myself, I don't think the port needs it for instrument flight rules. But since Captain Sawyer talked about its aging equipment, I'm going to vote for it. But I do want to revisit this come budget time because how much we use it, I want data on how much we use it. Is it better if we look at other options in the future for what we need for security and everything? But so be prepared for that. Those questions come budget time.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCarty.
Captain, I have a couple of questions. The fuel cost for the use, since it's divided among different departments, is the fuel cost divided among the different departments, or is that come out of a single budget that you have?
That's actually, everything's split, ma'am.
Okay, just wondering. What is the condition of the helicopter that you have? You said that you don't have the latest instrumentation, but the helicopter itself, do you have any issues with it or with maintenance?
No, ma'am, there's required by the FAA. So our helicopter actually went into our annual inspection today. So that's where we have a certified mechanic that comes in. The helicopter will actually be most likely not flyable for the next 2 or 3 weeks, where they have a strict checklist that they must go through, make sure and they check everything and keep everything up to date. That's unfortunately, I could compare it to an automobile where you had a 2008 automobile and you look at the equipment, the navigation, whatever may be in there, and then you go to a 2023 aircraft, and we're not even trying to make it a 2023, but just things become aging. Essentially, we have a DeLorean which is no longer in business, so we can't get parts to fix that DeLorean, lack of a better word, or a manufacturer that doesn't have parts.
So other than the instrumentation, the maintenance for the helicopter itself, the engine, the body of the helicopter, that is okay for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So again, we have the engine, so our engine has the total airframe has about 2,200 hours on it, which is relatively light usage, comparable. So an airframe has like our main rotor blades have a 10,000 hour usage limitation, so things like that. So there are things like our transmission at a certain amount of hours has to be replaced, your engine, so it's very strict. And that's why, in aviation, it's not like a car when you have a check engine light come on, or you just pull over to the side of the road and then we go to Delta Tire to get someone to look at it. With aviation, you have not a lot of options. And the gentleman referenced an auto rotation, that would be as if your engine goes out. So it's a very fast flight down under no power whatsoever. You got to time it right.
That's why I'm asking about safety concerns.
Yes, ma'am.
And also longevity. So you think that if we have 2,200 hours, you think that we can keep this helicopter for, would you estimate or be able to estimate?
I mean, at 2,200 hours, the aircraft's a 2008, so roughly 15 years. The helicopter's roughly 15 years old. Just like anything else, I mean, I did misspeak earlier, say with the avionics. We have what's called a FLIR, forward-looking infrared camera, and also a sensor. So that system actually is also out of age and does not work, and the company, again, has gone out of business. And so we have that part of our aircraft. However, that is about a $600,000 replacement. So with aviation, things unfortunately cost a lot of money. Same with the helicopter, it was approximately $2 million when they purchased it. If we need, someday if there are greater requirement, to replace things, again, things are just more expensive, and then the technology is significantly better as well, ma'am.
And just so the port can prepare for future needs, is the helicopter that you have sufficient for our needs today or for our growth? So is this a two-seater? I mean, and does it?
It's sold as a 5-seater, Enstrom. However, I don't think I've ever seen a picture of one actually with 5 people in it, because you would have to put the seat so far forward it would be not flyable. So it is a 3-person helicopter. That's how we have it set up, ma'am.
Okay.
And so, yes, I do feel the helicopter is adequate. If there was a mission change or mission requirement, we would have to consider, even potentially upgrading the helicopter. But then again, that would be through other means, potentially with grant writing, because the sheriff's office, long before I was here when they purchased it, they did have a grant, and things didn't work out the way they expected to, so they did pay for the helicopter out of pocket. So there are other avenues that the director and I have discussed, that if the future needed it, greater security requirements, you would probably definitely want to look at upgrading the sensor on the aircraft. That's something like that. I mean, we've all probably seen TV shows and movies that gives you the contrast of heat, a heat signature. That's what FLIR is. It's literally like looking through a soda straw when you're trying to look, but I've used that to help find missing people, unfortunately sometimes passed away people that have succumbed to the elements or whatnot, but also helps us in the sheriff's office when dealing with tactical missions. There's several times where I'll go overhead when the SWAT team's about to go in on, not that that happens that often, but that support that we can provide to help if you see somebody at night egressing from a particular area.
And thus, that's why I'm asking about longevity, because it takes maybe a year or 2 years to prepare for replacing something, and we want to be able to prepare for it in the budget.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And am I allowed to address a previous comment, sir? And sir, I apologize if the helicopter was not accessible during IDA, because we did several missions, and if I can ensure that several of the council members actually have my number, if there's ever an issue, that you are correct, any mission should be decided upon. I mean, ideally, I would like to think if I'm the final person to make that decision, or if it's the director and prioritizing a mission, but if it was us using the camera or filming things, whether it was the aftermath of damage from the storm, I apologize personally. I've never turned down a mission since I've been here, or a request to fly the helicopter, sir, so.
I don't know if you turned it down, but myself and the parish president at the time went and sat in Sandy's office and was told no twice.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner LaFrance.
Yes, when this equipment is being installed, when it's installed, you feel safe in that piece of equipment?
Yes, sir.
And the equipment that you're planning on and having installed, that would make it state of the art?
It's all relative terms, sir. I mean, I would say it will upgrade the aircraft properly to safely be able to conduct the required missions that we do. So state of the art, you could spend $300,000 on the equipment, as Councilman stated, as far as making the aircraft instrument flight rated. That's not our mission, nor do we want to go there. As an example, when the Baton Rouge helicopter that crashed a few months ago, they were flying at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, reduced visibility, looking for a stolen car. So what happened is they got disoriented, went into the clouds, didn't have the proper instrumentation, climbed up to about 1,200 feet. And you can imagine if you sit in a chair here and you spin yourself around and you try to go up and run across a room. Do you know the feeling, sir, where you can't, your equilibrium is off. And so basically at about 1,200 feet, that's what happened. They lost their bearing whatsoever. They were in the clouds and not having the proper instrumentation, and then they basically fell 1,200 feet to the ground to their demise. So that's why things like this are important, because, when we think of basic flying around, when I flew with the chairman to Morgan City yesterday, it's a nice, bright, sunny day, but the problem with, you can imagine that sometimes the weather in Belle Chase is significantly different than it is down at the lower end of the parish, just the way the storms go up. So when we try to plan, it's just important that we have the appropriate instrumentation to be able to navigate and perform our duties.
And the average life of a the average life of a helicopter is determined by the hours
Yes, sir.
and not by the age.
Correct, sir. You have aircraft out flying that is 50, 60, 70 years old, sir.
And what is the projected cost of a new one?
A new helicopter, sir? We can probably purchase a new Bell, what's called a Bell 505, which would be comparable to what we have. However, it would have a rear cabin to be able to take people, because sometimes we are limited is the amount of people I can take myself and 2 other people and maybe only 1 other person, depending on the weight and how much fuel I need to put in the aircraft. An aircraft like that is about $2 million, sir. However, then when you need to equip it with some of the avionics, now it comes with some of the things, sir, but like if we decided we wanted to put a FLIR on it, forward-looking infrared, you can look at probably up to about $3.5 million to replace what I would say the comparable technology when the helicopter that we have now purchased in 2008. It came with a FLIR, it came with a camera, and then so now you fast forward about 15 years, sir.
So 3.5?
About, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Edwards.
Yeah, I have so many thoughts about this this helicopter. When you went to talking about the seating, that really messed me up, because the thought of me being on the 3-seater with Councilman Schultz and Harbo and Newsom would scared the hell out of me.
Who would be the pilot, though?
Don't believe that part alone. No, I was just being facetious. But look, I have a question, though, going back to with Councilman Harbo was talking about who make the final decision, is you or the sheriff? Because I understand when he was saying the sheriff made the decision. So you saying you can override the sheriff decision if he say no?
I would say the sheriff obviously is the sheriff and my boss. However, as the pilot in command, I have the right, absolutely, to refusal to make a flight, sir, as the professional, right? So if it's not safe to fly, the helicopter's not safe to fly, I would be the one as the pilot to say, sir, we can't do this mission. I would say I take orders from the port director. I would take orders from the sheriff. I've never, if anyone's ever called me, it generally goes through my boss, either Major Ligas or Chief Boudreau, or sometimes the sheriff. Hey, this flight is requested. Look at your schedule, what's going on, and how can we accommodate? Again, when a storm is either near or post-storm, there are a lot of different requests for flights from different people. Even after, I believe it was also after Ida, there was a time where I actually had my cell phone, my iPhone, and I was recording, doing basically a FaceTime call. Actually, it was after last storm, excuse me. It was Ida, I apologize. Because I remember flying, and I was using my iPhone so that the council could see, and the parish president, what was going on and the status. We were over Ironton. I was able to look at some of the levee breaches. And I understand, the potential of people deciding to move towards drones. There's things that I do that a drone will never, ever be able to do with the size of our parish to be able to. And I am well-versed, not well-versed, but I have education. I even have my drones license. It was just an add-on on my qualification, sir. But those are some other examples of the ability to provide real-time.
Well, and I want to go back again. So, because we're doing this in half, do we have a CA agreement to saying that we have equal use of it?
Yes, sir.
Because I think if we had that case, that should solve what Councilman Howard was saying. We should have an agreement of saying that we equal partners, so it shouldn't be a question about whether we can use it or not.
Yes, sir. And I don't want to, speak out of turn here, but as we discussed, this was actually a request, and I hope this doesn't change people's mind with this, was for the port was going actually to pay for the entire amount, sir. And that's how the discussions that we have
You gotta
had.
say that slow, because to me, you said that kind of fast. For what?
Well, in this particular request, when we were dealing with the director, when we had some of our first flights, and what was the request for them with their budget was to potentially add so that the port was going to pay for this upgrade for the helicopter. And so, yes, sir, there is, if we want to say it's 50% usage, is we have weekly flights scheduled with the port, and we'll fly up and down the Mississippi and look at more different ships moored along the Mississippi so they can help track data if people are providing the appropriate information back to when they're required to pay a certain amount of fees. So we have weekly flights with the port. I would say, without doing a deep dive in my actual hours, but I would say the helicopter is used approximately 50% from each entity.
And what's the total amount we asking for again?
$40,705.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Captain?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I know, I'll call you Captain today, Captain. Couple questions. So who, if this passes today, who's going to do this work? Who will install this? Do we have
We received 3 estimates from 3 separate companies. At this point right now, Auric Aviation, which is out of Lakefront, is who is the most competitive bid, is also who does all of our avionics work now, whenever we have any avionics issues. So he's very familiar with our aircraft.
Okay. Well, I'd much rather have that been submitted to this body. It'd been nice to have that before today, the bids on this.
Okay.
So, second question. So I'm sure you have a contract signed with whoever does the work on a contract, with some warranty work on it, whatever it needs to be. Is that part of who's
Yes,
going to do
they'll
this?
cover any sort of, yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess the third would be for Ms. Charles. Mr. Edwards brought up the CEA. Could that be forwarded? I don't have it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Schultz.
So I had one question, but I added one. So is this 40,000 the total cost or half the cost?
F.
Half. Okay, I got confused where. Okay, hurricane season is right around the corner. Are we putting it in for these upgrades before hurricane season? If so, what's the turnaround time?
What we will do is purchase the equipment first, which will take about 6 weeks to get in. Then the goal will actually, most likely, we'll wait till after the hurricane season to
Okay.
put it in, because it will take several weeks to.
Yeah, that's why I was like, anytime
I will knock down the
avionics
aircraft.
upgrades takes a while, so that's why I was like, wait, hold on, we don't want the helicopter going during hurricane season. Okay, that's it.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Konovich.
How much did you say the flare camera costs?
A FLIR will cost about $600,000, sir.
I got a better deal for you because we just put some on 4 boats.
Yes, sir.
Because we use them to detect oil on
Yes,
the
sir.
water.
Unfortunately, aviation likes to throw times 20 or 30 on everything. And a lot of that, again, has to do with technology, sir.
Camera and the monitor was $200,000.
Yes, sir.
And flare came from Nova Scotia, put it in and worked it for a month.
Yes, sir.
Good couple. Any other comments from the table?
Can I make a comment?
Oh, yeah.
This conversation is coming on the back of the master plan conversation and the market analysis. One of the things that I'd like to make sure that the council, clearly understands what's getting ready to happen to Plaquemines Port. Once Venture Global goes online, we're going to have an additional 365 vessel calls per year to our region to Venture Global site. We're working on an expansion plan with the container terminal that could add another 200 vessels a year. On-Site Concrete is working on a plan that can add another 100. So we're talking about more than 600 more vessel calls to our region. And what I will say is one of our core values is to deploy, technology and innovation. Our security department, Mr. Brown, works very closely with Captain Sauer. We are using technology from the pilots now, where we can see every vessel in our region real time. And the coordinated efforts between our security department and the sheriff's department is now very, very tactical. We know what we're going out to look at. And with this increased traffic, particularly, LNG, we want to make sure that, we do everything to not make ourselves a soft target. So having this support, in my opinion, is of vital importance. And I highly recommend that, we pass this and that we, continue to support this relationship through the CEA. And I will make sure that everybody has a copy of the CEA tomorrow. It works very well, and request your support.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yeah, you just said that it's important that the port and the sheriff work together, but seemed like the crux of your statement was because of what's happening with Venture Global. So it seems like shouldn't be Venture Global be a part of that partnership, since you're saying that they're going to cause you have to monitor so much of stuff as part of that security that you mentioned. Shouldn't they have input in that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And, one of the things that I'd like to say is, with us now becoming a landlord port and not just a tariff port, it is imperative that we act like a port authority. And we have 3 security boats. We are working on deploying them in a very strategic and specific manner. And we have, camera technology. We have the CEA agreement, and that's our role as a port authority. And it is no different than other port authorities around the United States.
Commissioner Konovich?
With all that traffic coming, we might want to do like the New Orleans traffic, Morgan City traffic, and have a station on the bank with radar and all. And like when you're going through New Orleans, you got to call them when you get to St. Bernard, let them know you're coming. They tell you what's coming and going, where you could go. When you get to Kenner, you got to do the same thing. So maybe we need to start doing that.
Well, we work very closely with the Crescent pilots, and they have a system called Mr. Tiz that tracks all of the traffic. That system is tied to our GIS technology. We're in constant communications. Mr. Brown is talking with the pilots on a weekly basis. We know that they are tracking the vessels. I've personally gone out with the pilots, and I rode a container vessel from Napoleon Street Terminal in New Orleans out to Pilot Town. So the coordination that you're referring to, it is happening, and we're tying, all of our technology and innovation together, to make sure that we can. One, we have the helicopter, so we can deploy it to go and look at something that we know is there that we need to verify. And then we have the Mr. Tiz technology that any ship out there that's got an AIS on it, we can see it, we know where it's going, and our inspectors, if something is going wrong, they can be proactive in getting in front of issues.
Well, this is something that every boat has AIS, so you see all the ships and boats, but you got to get on the radio and call New Orleans traffic. Say, my boat's coming through. He'll tell you what's coming at you. He'll tell you which side of the river to get on, and just a redundancy of safety.
Yeah, and we actually rely on our pilots to manage that, and we work very closely with them, and we'll continue to do that.
They got to do the same thing when they go through New Orleans.
Yep, understand. Thank you.
Commissioner McCarty?
It's my perception that it may be prudent to look at
the purchase of an additional helicopter in the master plan and start preparing for that as the port grows. So I'd like you to just inquire about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, you're not going to respond to that?
He is. He's holding it from me.
That'll be done offline. So, a great discussion.
Yes.
Director, and I think that what might be an approach for us to take from an information basis is if, before budget hearings this year, if we could have an analysis of our operations and our homeland security with the helicopter and the impact without the helicopter. Because if we're going to justify, and I keep hearing that from some of our commissioners, is we're looking for justification. So, and I think the justification comes with, okay, if we don't have the helicopter, these are how we're going to deal with the problems. And if we do, this is how we're going to deal with the problem. And I know you don't have anything on your plate, but Jalen's got all the time in the world to work on that. He's only got the ferries to deal with right now, so. Machine is open. And the ordinance is approved unanimously, 9-0.
Thanks.
6E is deferred. 7, new business. 7A. 6E.
Yeah, sorry.
7, new business. 7A, introduction of resolutions wherein suspension is being sought. A resolution authorizing the executive director of the port, Charles Tilton, to enter into and execute a contract with Cornerstone Government Affairs, replacing the Chesapeake Group lobbyist for a period of 1 year to represent the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District in any upcoming sessions of the Louisiana State Legislature or any other meetings, etc., deemed necessary to protect its interest in all matters and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer to place this on the agenda. I'll ask for a second. Seconded by Commissioner Edwards. The machine is open. And the item is placed on the agenda.
No, it's not.
Need a unanimous? I'd like to revert back to item 5, please.
A resolution authorizing the executive director of the port, Charles Tillotson, to enter into and execute a contract with Cornerstone Government Affairs, replacing the Chesapeake Group lobbyist for a period of 1 year to represent the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District in any upcoming sessions of the Louisiana State Legislature or any other meetings, etc., deemed necessary to protect its interest in all matters and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
If it's appropriate and if there's no objection from the board, if there is objection, we won't do it. I would like to make a motion that Director Tillotson, if the board approves, that we allow Cornerstone to answer any questions. They came from Baton Rouge and they're here. Maybe we could at least get some information today and that we'll be voting on in 2 weeks. So, Mr. Garrett, would that be appropriate to make a motion? Yeah, doesn't have to go on the agenda or anything, just a motion to
What, you're just
discussion.
just for discussion? I think it would be appropriate to make a motion to add discussion to the agenda.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. I'm making a motion that we add an item to the agenda, a discussion as to the previous resolution for suspension that was denied. I'll put that motion forward and ask for a second. Second by Commissioner Champagne. Machine is open for discussion of that item. And the item is approved for discussion. Now it's on the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we just discuss the item now?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Tillotson, I'll let you take it from here.
Yes, I mean, what I'd like to point out is that we have 4 weeks left in the session, and the change is for strategic reasons, for business development, economic development for the port, and you know, I mean, we understand if we want to put this off for another 2 weeks, but it really is going to put us at a disadvantage in actually leveraging the Cornerstone relationship with some of the economic development projects that we have on the books now.
So with that, what I'd like to do is, I know that some of us have interviewed Cornerstone. We received a packet. I don't know when everyone received it, but we have received a packet. I would like to ask any board members if they have any direct questions for Cornerstone, and we'll put this to rest. Cue in if you have any questions. Okay. No questions? Now we're done. We're done. So that item's done. I just want, we will vote on this in 2 weeks.
Excuse me. I just wanted to ask if
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't see. I'm sorry, Patty. Commissioner McCarty.
I just wanted to ask if the representative from Cornerstone, for the sake of the community listening, would give a elevator pitch and quick overview of your company, because they don't have access to what we see here.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Enlow with Cornerstone Government Affairs. We are a full-service government relations firm. We have approximately 14 offices, one in D.C., and the other 13 are in 12 various states. We're a bipartisan firm. We have 8 professionals in the Baton Rouge, Louisiana office. We operate strategically, and we like to say that we are goal-oriented in our approach. We have strong relationships in the leadership of both the House and the Senate, and we've got deep ties with the current administration, all the departments of the administration, the governor's office, and with DOTD and other ancillary departments within the state government. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Additionally, would you add the type of qualifications that the people who are your agents possess?
So,
Are they attorneys? Are they researchers? Do they have degrees in psychology? I mean, just like, where are they coming from?
sure. We have one individual that is an attorney. She doesn't practice that, but she started in the House 25, 30 years ago. I don't want to age her. We have another gentleman that has been with the local municipal government, the National Guard, and at the highest level of the state government with 2 administrations, the General Administration and the Blanco Administration. That person would be Paul Rainwater. We've got another colleague has been with the General Administration, and then other lobbyists that have been doing it from 25 years to, one is 15 years, and in a variety of different things that we items we represent. So it's hard to qualify, but to answer your question, a little bit of everything. My background is mechanical engineering degree, worked in the civil and environmental engineering world, and then was with Ascension Parish Government of the last 8 years, and I've been with this firm, Cornerstone, for the last 2 years. So I developed transportation program and drainage programs in Ascension Parish. So.
Good, thank you. I see from this.
Yes, ma'am.
That you do a wide variety of, or specialize in a wide variety of topics. Thank you for speaking.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards.
Yeah, I just think in part, Mr. Director Charles, that you tell the public why we're making this move, because I don't know if that's clear to the public why we're making the switch.
Yeah, strategically, I mean, I think everybody here is aware of all of the legislation. There's 3 different bills, 1 House bill, 2 Senate bills. that are creating some legislation around trying to put different controls over the ports. The Cornerstone Group worked hand in hand with us with Chesapeake with our APM project. And I felt that it was important to have one voice for our container terminal project. So instead of having us with Chesapeake and APM with Cornerstone, that we combine forces and we have one voice coming out of Cornerstone. This in no way is saying that Chesapeake did anything wrong. They're a great firm. I have a lot of respect for them, but our goal is to finish our container terminal, and this change is to make sure that we're speaking with one voice in Baton Rouge.
Commissioner LaFrance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion for reconsideration on item 6E.
There's been a motion by Commissioner LaFrance for reconsideration of item 6.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
On a suspension.
Yes, right.
On the suspension,
On the suspension?
everyone listen up. We have reconsideration for the item that was previously put up for suspension, to get it on the agenda, to place it on the agenda, and that's the Right.
I'll make the motion.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Konovich for
Oh, who voted against?
I've been one of the two people that voted.
Right. Yeah, so I have a motion by Commissioner Konovich
I'll second it.
and seconded by Commissioner LaFrance to take up an item, to place an item on the agenda, to wit, I'm not going to read it, it's the resolution for Cornerstone replacing Chesapeake Group. Machine is open. And the item has now been placed on the agenda under new business. I will move to suspend the rules to take up this item now that it's been placed on the agenda. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Newsom, and the machine is open. Read it.
A resolution authorizing the executive director of the port, Charles Tilton, to enter into and execute a contract with Cornerstone Government Affairs, replacing the Chesapeake Group lobbyist for a period of 1 year to represent the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District in any upcoming sessions of the Louisiana State Legislature, or any other meetings, etc., deemed necessary to protect its interest in all matters, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I offer, Commissioner Newsom is seconded. Machine is, yes. Yes.
Any upcoming, shouldn't it be current and upcoming? I'm just wondering, because the legislative session is almost over, right? And so you're trying to get this in effect for this one or next year?
Well, this,
So if you're talking about this one, shouldn't it say current and upcoming?
I'm gonna withdraw my motion because there's a typo in here, and I want to put that typo in. It's,
Typos are an administrative duty for me, so I can just make that change. You don't have to.
okay. Thank you so much. Machine is open.
This is on the
We'll
suspension.
put that in.
This is on the
This
suspension.
is on the suspension. And the suspension was approved, 9-0. Now we'll take action on the resolution. If you read it again, please.
A resolution authorizing the executive director of the port, Charles Tilton, to enter into and execute a contract with Cornerstone Government Affairs, replacing the Chesapeake Group lobbyist for a period of 1 year to represent the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District in any upcoming sessions of the Louisiana State Legislature or any other meetings, etc., deemed necessary to protect its interest in all matters, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I offer Commissioner Newsom to second it. Machine is open.
We got to speak on it first.
We didn't do that already? Okay. Comments? I know, come on.
You cancel the votes?
Yes,
Clear it.
ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, first off, let me tell you, I think you're making a good move. Cornerstone, I've known for a long time. Mr. Paul Rainwater used to be head of Division Administration for the state. I worked with him with the Louisiana Recovery Authority after the storm and other departments. I've dealt with him out of Washington and his firm and what they've done up there. While we have a very qualified state rep here, we have very little representation in Baton Rouge. Absolutely terrible. I think between the firm that you're all getting ready to hire, the 4 or 5 people that I've known, that if I must have been in, I would just tell you, they're wired in Baton Rouge and Washington. Mike Enlow, I've known for a long time. Mike used to be with a company called CDM, Engineering Company, one of the state agencies that I used to be involved with. We hired his firm in New Orleans. How long have we worked together? About 7 years? In there. Anything they said they were going to do, they put their heads to it. They went after what we wanted. I think you picked a good firm. They'll do what you all want done. And it's a very insignificant. I will tell you that this coming Tuesday is Plaquemine Parish Day in Baton Rouge. And we're making a big effort to go up there and put a concerted effort on with the state legislature. I think they need to be in place there and be at our booths in Baton Rouge to represent us in a storyline. Even the Tourism Commission is going to have a booth up there to promote some things, et cetera. Sheriff and everybody's putting a good front on this thing. I think we need to from the council. And if you all can come to it. But I'd hire them right now. Thank you.
Yeah, you know I'm back how much. You already know that. No?
Bring that up with the specifics when we explain it, yeah.
Okay. Now, hey, do you represent Port of New Orleans also? You know, what other port in the state do you represent other than Ascension?
Off the league.
Well, he said he represented Ascension Parish, didn't he? That's what I heard him say. All right.
Yeah.
Previously worked for Ascension Parish, but no other ports do we represent in the state.
I just want to make all Plaquemine deal, that's all. I don't want 581 to come out here, man.
Mr. Konovich.
Wanted to say I didn't have a problem with hiring these people. The problem I had we've been knowing about this for 2 or 3 weeks. Could have been put on the agenda for suspension and we wouldn't have needed the unanimous vote. Or it could have been introduced last meeting.
Yeah, and thank you, and it definitely, it's on the port, it's on me, and it won't happen again.
Commissioner Newsom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Henry, I'm going to take care of that question you got. I had it on my list. So, again, what is the current contract amount?
Charles, you want to answer?
I don't know who, somebody.
$6,000 per month.
Okay, thank you. Also, another question. It says it for a period of 1 year. So is that 1 year from May? What does the year mean? Is it May 11th, 2024, or is it January 31st?
From you approving it, usually. From adoption.
From adoption, so May.
So when you approve it, when this becomes legislation.
So, okay, next year we'll do something. Thank you. Also, bring up, Mr. Konovich brought it up, we're switching gears here, which is, we're going to fully support I fully support the port in their decision-making. But I believe before, with this lobbyist, or not this lobbyist, but the previous, I believe we rushed to a decision. So I would hope in the future,
we change that type of I shouldn't say I'll say it, tape decision-making, and let's really research it and really get the best group, because these guys are reading their backgrounds, and they're very well versed in a lot of different entities, so I believe they'll be a big asset to our port, so I will be supporting this, and thank you, and I yield.
Commissioner Edwards.
So the company we still got to pay them because we had an agreement with them for this whole legislative session, or we still have to pay them that contract?
Yes, so their contract required a 30-day termination notice, so it's drafted to the date that the legislation ends. So that will be June the 8th will be Chesapeake's last day.
So in essence, we're going to be having two groups. We're paying, even though one, if this group come in Cornerstone, but we still paying Chesapeake even though we're not
That is-
using. That's what I'm trying to understand.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. For 30 days, yes.
Yeah, one of the there were a few comments, a few conditions. One of the conditions with all of our contract was to have that termination clause very clear.
That is
and
correct.
to be precise. So that's what enabled us to enforce that, because we put that up front, and we
Yes.
did the same thing with the representative out of D.C. We have that clause.
That's
So
correct.
That was a recommendation of the council. Anyone else at the table?
I'd like to just make, one comment. I want to be very clear that this change is a strategic change, and it was a difficult decision for myself and Melissa. We did not have a crystal ball before this session started. We knew that there was some talk about port legislation. It has been a challenge, addressing all of the issues, and as a result, we made a decision to bring Chesapeake in, and we had to take a close look at what was happening in Baton Rouge, and we had to pivot to make a decision that we thought was in the best interest of the port at the time, based on the new information that we had at hand.
Thank you, sir. Sheen is open. And the resolution is approved 8-1 with an abstention from District 8. Now, the immediate certification is done, so it's just a matter of getting the contract signed so we can go. Next item.
8, approval of the April 27, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Offered by Commissioner LaFrance, seconded by Commissioner McCarty. Machine is open. Minutes are approved 9-0. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Motion by LaFrance and seconded by Schultz. Machine is open. And we are adjourned as the port at 4:22.